If you haven't heard of the 2 or 4 split card technique, you are definitely going to want to watch today's video. Today is December 15th. We are a week before Christmas, and if you're still needing to make some Christmas cards, this is going to be perfect. I recently discovered this technique and I needed quite a few more Christmas cards, and I made 10 beautiful cards in less than 15 minutes. This is such a great way to mass produce cards for any occasion, any time of year, and I am really excited to share this with you. So let's get stamping. So to start, I'm using a piece of Fairy Vanilla cardstock, and this has not been cut, so it measures 11 by 8.5. So next I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to use the scoring tool, and along the 8.5 side I am going to score it at 4 1/4, which is exactly the middle. I'm going to turn it and line it up at 5.5 and score it. Okay, now I'm going to use a Christmas stamp set. I'm going to use Peaceful Boughs, and this is the stamp set I used when I was making a whole bunch of Christmas cards that I needed in a hurry. Nice Christmas cards, but this is so awesome. Okay, so I have all my stamps on their blocks, and I'm going to use my Garden Green, and I'm going to start with this image. I'm just going to ink it up. And using the center of my card, I'm going to stamp into that panel. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to be working on these diagonal panels. So let's see, I'm going to grab the little one. And I'm not worrying about it going over on here, like on the other sides, too much. So I'm just going to keep filling in a little bit. And let's add some pine cones. I'm going to use soft suede. I've decided I'm going to add a few more pine boughs. I'm actually going to stamp a few more times. You see how it kind of fills that in just ever so slightly. So I'm going to stamp off. I'm going to do that here as well. Stamp off. Okay, so that's what I have. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this card in half. So it doesn't matter if you cut it at the 5.5 mark or if you cut it at the 4 1/4 mark. I am going to cut it at the 5.5 mark. So line that up right where I've scored it before and cut it. There's one card, and here's 2 cards. Now I'm going to take the sentiment and stamp that on the front of the card. And for this one, I'm going to use Poppy Parade, a nice bright red. And then you just decide where you want to put your sentiment. So on this one, I'm going to do it landscape. And on this one, I'll do it in portrait. Oh, and I blurred it. All right, we can fix that. So this one's gonna have a die cut on it. I'm just gonna stamp that on here and cut that out with the die. Using my layering circle dies, and I have a scrap piece of Garden Green, so I'm just going to do a scallop. So this will just give a nice tiny edge to that circle, which was not planned for this card, but this is how I'm going to fix that smudged sentiment. put that on with some dimensionals. And then just cover that up and nobody will know that there is a smudge mark under there. Now I'm taking this image right here, the dots, and I'm gonna take my Seaside spray and just fill in some of those blank areas, kind of like snow. And I'm not inking every time so that I do get that nice gradual faded look. So there are 2 Fairy Fast cards. Now if you wanted to step it up and add embellishments, you could do that too. So for this one, I'm going to take some of our gold gilded gems. I'm going to put one here, one here, another one there. And for this one, I have some of our Poppy Parade ribbon, just made a bow. So I'm going to take a glue dot and put that right below here, right below the die cut that I didn't know was going to go on this card, but I love it. And for this one, I'm going to use our wonderful gems, and I'm going to put some of the clear with the gold on here. So there's those 2 cards made, and I'm going to take some of my Champagne Shimmer Mist, which I have mixed with 70% rubbing alcohol, and I'm just going to spritz these, and that will give these some pretty shimmery, glimmery Christmas glitz. And then the inside of the cards, I've just put some regular computer paper that I've cut for the inside, and I want to stamp my season's greeting. So I am using every stamp in this set. And if you wanted to jazz up the inside, you could stamp more pines and boughs on the inside. So there are 2 really fast cards. So here are the ones that I made the other day. You can see I put some of the red gems on here, some of the gold. Some cards are going this way, some cards are going that way. It just depends on how you decide to cut your cards. But I had these all made in like 15 minutes because I stamped them all and then I just cut them all, and so fast. And then I went through and stamped my Fairy Vanilla envelopes. So all of my envelopes are stamped to coordinate with the cards. So that was a really awesome way for me to create extra Christmas cards that I needed really fast. So, and again, with my blooper that I did today, didn't that come out so pretty with the die cut? So of course you could spruce these up with the die cuts. You could use the die cuts that coordinate with the stamp set and add your ribbon. But when you need to make cards in a hurry, these were perfect, super fast. But if you've got time to step them up a bit, you can really have fun with these. So this is called the 2 split card because you're getting 2 cards out of one piece, just doing one swoop of stamping. So now I'm going to show you the 4 split card. So you can probably figure out how that works. So on this piece of Fairy Vanilla, I actually cut it down 1/2 inch on both ends. So on the 8.5 inch side, I cut it at the 8-inch mark. And on the 11-inch side, I slid it over and cut it at the 10.5 inch mark. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to line this up at the 4-inch and score it. And then I'm going to line this up at the 5.25 measurement and score it. Now for this one, I'm going to use a stamp set, bit of a sneak peek. This is coming out in our January 5th mini catalog. It's called the Art Gallery, and I love it. And it comes with dies. It's part of a beautiful suite. So I have been having so much fun with this stamp set. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my garden green and my stem and leaves. So I'm just gonna ink this up. I'm just going from the center down. I missed a little bit here, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp on top of that. There we go. And I'm going to stamp another one here. Here. And here. Okay. So that's my green. Now the flowers are two-step, which I love. So fast and easy to do. So I'm going to start with my bold image, and I'm going to use Petal Pink for that. So I'm just going to stamp it right here. So pretty. Now I have the outline image, so I'm inking it up in my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm just going to go on top of these flowers. Really easy to line up. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? I'm going to do that for all of them. Stamps are really forgiving, so if you don't line it up absolutely perfect, like that one's perfect, but this one's not, but that's okay. If they don't line up right spot on, it's still absolutely beautiful. It's meant to have that watercolor look, and that one lined up perfectly too. But isn't that pretty? And they're not even done yet. This is very similar to doing a one sheet wonder, but I love this because you're specifically creating either 2 or 4 panels. So we need to add some more flowers. Let's see, let's add this one. So I'm gonna pull in my Bumblebee for this one, and I'm literally just pulling the colors out of the mini catalog that they show that go with this suite, and I'm gonna stamp it right here, and I'm gonna stamp another one here. So now it's time to cut. So I'm going to cut down at the 4-inch mark, right on top of the original crease line, and then cut at 5 1/4. And now I have 4 panels for 4 cards. Okay, so now it's time to assemble the cards. So I'm going to keep the first one really simple. So I'm just going to use my glue and put that on my card base. And there's lots of great sentiments in this set. I'm going to use Happy Birthday. I'm on a real happy birthday kick right now. Getting lots of birthday cards made. But I'm going to stamp this with black Memento. And the card could either go landscape or portrait. I'm going to do this one in portrait. I'm going to stamp the happy birthday right here. Very simple, quick card. Now I'm taking the Label Me Fancy punch. I'm taking my card and I'm sliding it in, and I'm just going to punch, and it's only going to punch that circle. Okay, so I have my circle on there, and you're thinking, what the heck? I'm making a 1-hole bow, and look at this ribbon, you guys. Holy, it is so beautiful. I love it. This is our new fine art ribbon, and it's part of the same sweet. So some of you may know my little trick for threading ribbon. So this is a dental flosser, so you can get them at the drugstores, and they're in my craft room more than they're in my bathroom because they're so handy, and you're gonna see how I use those in a second. So you're gonna take your ribbon, and I probably cut more than I needed, but you're gonna take your ribbon, and let's center it, and you're going to bring this end up through that hole. So I'm gonna take my threader, put my ribbon through it, and pull it right up through that hole. And it's a tiny hole and it's thick ribbon, so once you get it through, you can just give it a little help, pull that through. Okay, and there's one. We're going to do the same thing with the other end. Again, put the ribbon through my threader. That's the technical term for these. And I'm going to move this ribbon over, so I've got a gap here in that hole. Put my dental flosser through and pull it through. And again, just because it's a thicker ribbon and a smaller hole, just give it a little bit of help, pull that through. There we go. Perfect. So I'm just going to tighten that up. And then one end of the ribbon is going to go underneath the middle, so you have your cross. And then all you do is you just tie a knot. That's it. That's your one whole bow. I mean, you could tie a bow. I'm just tying a knot. So trim that off. And then this is going to go on my card base. And this time for the sentiment, I'm going to pull in a celebration stamp set. This is called Heal Your Heart, and it's a lovely stamp set that you can earn for free. Celebration starts on January the 5th, and I've already been using this a lot. So I'm going to use the Wishing I Could Heal Your Heart. And now I'm going to stamp Sorry for Your Loss. I think I want a little bit more yellow right here just to balance it out. Yeah, that just balanced it all out really nicely. So another thing that's new coming out in our mini catalog on January 5th are these ladybug trinkets. And these are part of the Dragonfly Garden Suite. And these are just precious little ladybugs. Aren't they sweet? So I'm going to put one of those on the card as well. A glue dot. And just put it on this leaf. And just put my little ladybug right on that leaf. Okay, so now I'm going to take this image right here, just this one, and I want to die cut this. And you're going to notice I have some ink here. It's not really ink on the stamp. I sat this down on something, and whatever I sat it down on transferred onto the stamp. Fortunately, it's not affecting the stamped image, but I don't know what that is. So I'm just inking up the flower portion in Rococo Rose. And then I'm going to take my Poppy Parade marker, and I'm just going to add some to these berries, if you will, on this side. And I'm just going to add a little bit in the center of the flowers. And then I'm going to take my garden green and go on top of the stem and the leaf. Right on top of that red and Rococo Rose. Okay, stamp that down. So I'm going to cut this with the coordinating die. Okay, so to put this on, I'm just going to take some Stampin' Dimensional and I'm going to just overlap it onto these flowers. Trim off that little bit on the end. Here we go. And this time I'm using a stamp set called Ride the Range, and there are dies that coordinate with this. So many exciting things in our new catalog, and I've been using this but not all of them, and I want to use take time to enjoy the simple things. So I'm going to go ahead and put the label on this. I'm going to peel off the backing and take time for the simple things right here. Don't you just love how we can interchange stamp sets with other stamp sets, use sentiments from one set onto another set? I just love that. So I'm just positioning this right on top of that label and peel it off. And there it is, ready to go. So again, using my black Memento ink pad, I'm going to stamp that right up here. Oh, and it's crooked. Okay, so here's how I'm fixing this crooked sentiment. I am stamping on a that scrap piece of Fairy Vanilla. And I'm going to punch it out with my punch. And this was on my table from the earlier card, so I'm just using that. And then I took my scrap piece of Garden Green and punched using the same punch. What I'm going to do is cut this in half. Put a little glue on each end. And just put it right behind. This little bit was what was left from trimming this ribbon, and I don't like throwing anything away, so I am going to put this behind here. So let's see. Yep, perfect amount of ribbon. So I'm going to use my tear tape. I love my tear tape. Okay, so I have made two bows using our gold trim. That's part of the greenery ribbon combo pack. And I'm taking a glue dot because I want to add a little something at the base of this sentiment. So I'm just going to put that there. And another glue dot. And that will pull out the gold from this ribbon on each end of the sentiment. Then another glue dot right on top of that bow so that I can put a little ladybug there. Now for the last card, I'm taking the same images that I used for these pink flowers, and I'm going to stamp those onto more scrap paper and cut them out with the coordinating dies. And this time I'm going to use Rococo Rose and Poppy Parade. Are you ready to see another sneak peek coming out in our mini catalog? This is called You Are Amazing. Let me zoom out a bit for you. And this coordinates with a very awesome project kit. So I'm using the You Are Amazing stamp. I'm going to stamp that right smack dab in the center. And it's not crooked, yay! And then these are going to get trimmed. So I'm going to put one here. Where are my dimensionals? One going down like that. We're going to actually just trim off these edges. don't have to go to waste. I'm going to save those because look at this little tiny piece will fit down here perfectly. So I'm actually going to cut a dimensional in half. Using the Art Gallery stamp set again, I'm going to grab the congratulations and stamp that on the inside. I'm going to stamp that in Poppy Parade. That card I think looks beautiful just as it is. But when you have a new Dragonfly stamp set and punch, wouldn't you want to use that on this card as well? I know I do. Look at this. Oh my goodness. And don't you just love punches? I love punches. So I am smitten with this stamp set. I love the fonts and the script. Dragonfly Garden, there's a whole suite that coordinates with this, with trim, and the little ladybugs belong to this. We have Designer's Ruse paper, all kinds. So I just want to stamp a dragonfly. So I'm actually going to stamp the dragonfly on a piece of vellum. I'm going to use my Memento. So I actually gave that a quick zap with the heat tool to dry that ink, and now I'm going to flip it over and use my markers. So I am going to try to pull in all the colors of the flowers. So I have Bumblebee, Flirty Flamingo, Poppy Parade, and Petal Pink. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the Petal Pink, and just go over the wings. And I'm going to bring in the Flirty Flamingo and just go over the top. Already looking pretty. And some of that Poppy Parade. Go in the center a little bit. And a little bit of Bumblebee right along the bottom. And I'm going to bring in my basic gray and do the body in that. Now that I have my dragonfly colored, I'm going to punch the dragonfly out. Just as easy as can be. And I got a little baby dragonfly I can use another time. And on the reverse side, I'm just adding some clear Wink of Stella. So now I'm going to take my glue and go right down along the length of the body. And on the dragonfly, I'm placing one large champagne rhinestone and then two small champagne rhinestones. And they look really nice because it could almost pass for that Petal Pink. And there's that card done. So let me show you a recap of the cards. This is the 2 split card where we had one piece of cardstock. Let's see, it went that way. And then once I stamped the 2 panels, I just cut them out and boom, 2 cards done in no time, which of course can be stepped up with die cuts and ribbon. And then the first card I made using the Art Floral, and this was the 4 split card where I got the 4 panels. And then the second one that I made where I added the ribbon with that one whole bow and the sentiments, and of course the little ladybug. This one where I added the die cut, and of course I had stamped my sentiment crooked, so I ended up adding a punch and some embellishments. And then the last one where I also added some die cuts and then the dragonfly. Thank you so much for watching. You know I appreciate you. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping!